we will get started. So I'm going to turn it over to Levi. He's going to do the welcome and introductions for us and get us started.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lynn. I think I have a couple slides. Could we pull the slides up? They're not very extensive. In Google Slides. So as we're getting
actually, Levi, your slides are later in the presentation. So if you just want to do a warm welcome for everybody to start with, and then we'll run through the speakers.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, actually, well, let's, if we don't mind, I have to adjust. I'm moving. So let me say hi to everybody. My name is Levi Patrick. I'm the brand new executive director of the Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance. And I am just so honored to be a part of this organization. If we haven't had a chance to meet previously, what I want you to know is that I was an educator, a math educator, and I worked in Oklahoma City Public Schools and Putnam City Schools. And I was at the K-20 Center for Education and Community Renewal, which, if you don't know about that organization, they're at the University of Oklahoma. And what I did there is develop curriculum and was an instructional coach for about 5 years. And then for nearly the last 9 years, I was working at the Oklahoma State Department of Education as the director of secondary mathematics, director of computer science, and most recently, the deputy superintendent of curriculum and instruction. And it really, as I said, it's an honor to be a part of the Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance. I think I have found for many years this organization to be really a lifeblood of conversations happening around the work that so many of you are doing and that you want to accomplish to really empower and enrich the lives of our students so that if they want to pursue a career in STEM, they have the skills, the opportunity, and the access to do so. And the organization TRSA has done so many beautiful things for so many years that as I thought about what my role will be in this organization, I can't help but think that that we have work to do still to ensure that when each of you is innovating and when each of you is creating an impact with students and families and communities, that we're here to elevate the work that you do, to make sure that it sustains, to make sure that it scales, not just in our neighborhoods, but across our communities in the Northeast region, and I think well beyond the Northeast region. So I'm excited to be a part of this conversation ongoing and to listen in to your goals and your hopes for STEM education, because I think together, if we have a clear vision for the hopes that we in our communities have, I do believe that we can help spur along effective policies, effective practices, and ensure that we are elevating our work together. So I look forward to being a part of this conversation. I think that we have so many opportunities now to find out how to work together. And this last year has taught us an awful lot, hasn't it? It's taught us a lot that things that have been inequitable, where there's been imbalance in access to resources and opportunities, that these things have been portrayed with great contrast for us, with an amount of relief that's helped us to understand that we have a great deal of work to do. And we know how to do the work differently than ever before because we're willing and able to bring people to the table virtually in a different way that gives access. We're willing and able to work in a different way that takes what maybe was only accessible to a few and exponentially change that access. And I wanted to highlight one of those changes, and I'm sorry to kind of go out of order. As I mentioned, I'm moving. So this weekend, I'm moving to Tulsa from Oklahoma City, and it's fantastic, but it means that the moving company is coming. And so I have some packing to do still. And by the way, if any of you are in Oklahoma City and you like packing, just give me a call because it's fun. And so with that in mind, I'm sorry, Lynn, could I just have a quick adjustment to hop to the STEM Summer Playbook? I wanted to show you one thing that I hope will cause for you to to really appreciate at least one thing I think is possible for us. And really highlights for me the great things that TRSA has done and the ways in which through the pandemic we've had to think differently and creatively, and we can use this to our advantage. So perhaps those of you on the call know that TRSA has previously done a whole lot of amazing STEM summer camps. And these STEM summer camps have been made freely available to students across the Tulsa area. And through the pandemic, we had to quickly adjust to make those virtual. And as a result, we were actually allowing students to enroll in these virtual camps, and we would ship to them all the supplies that they would need so they could participate at home safely. And we're doing that again this year. And all of these camps have wonderful websites where all the curriculum and work that we usually put into the in-person camp is made available online. Well, the great thing about that is it helped me have a clear idea that what was once really powerful and available for few can now be really powerful and available for all. So what we've done is we said at the core of our organization is the belief that every student should have access and opportunities for STEM. STEM for all means everybody needs to have access in that experience. And we think in the summer, it's the perfect time for a student to get a spark, to really light up that moment in their life that they maybe reflect on as adults. And they think, remember that one summer, in middle school, that was the summer I knew that I was gonna be an engineer. Like, wouldn't that be an amazing thing if kids around our community, around our region, could remember that moment in that summer where they thought, I had to be a mathematician, I had to be an engineer. So what we've done is we've taken all of our summer camps and we've given them away. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. We created a brand new website that is called the Playbook. It's called the STEM Summer Playbook, and you can access it at playbook.tulsastem.org. I'll share that again in a moment, I believe. So the STEM Summer Playbook has a facilitator guide so that anybody who wants to launch a summer camp can launch a summer camp with quick and easy steps to do so. If you're a parent or family member, you can pick this up as well. You don't have to launch your own camp. So we've got a facilitator guide. We've got summer programs, which we'll look at each of these in a second. And we've got a community in Facebook that allows for you, if you are doing one of these camps or know somebody who is and needs just a little bit of help, you can go get connected. So again, it's all there. It's all free and available. Great work that's now 100% accessible online, that is. So on the next slide, I'll just highlight some of our points that we developed in the playbook. They're a little bit, it was funny kind of developing these, and I hope that the TRSA folks will tell you the story at some point, but it turns out none of us are very athletic, really, and we somehow chose an athletic metaphor to provide guidance here. So forgive us for the silly metaphors, but we have just a 5-step guide that has some simple guidance and resources for folks who are trying to build great summer experiences about safety, building the right team, having the right plan, using evidence-based practices that we know that work, making sure that you're actually serving students who need those experiences by scouting and recruiting participants, and elevating your game by always having the right ideas about quality STEM education at the forefront of the conversation. And then we give a bonus play here, which is the instant replay. And that is the idea that all great things could be better, right? And that we have to take moments in all of our work to reflect and improve as a continuous improvement community. So that's the facilitator playbook. On the next slide, I just highlight the website. So you can go to playbook.tulsastem.org. You can see right now, today, I believe we have 6 summer camps available, 16 STEM in a bags, which hopefully you all have heard much about that. It's all there and all available. Facilitator guides, supply list, ordering guidance, all of that work. And I believe the next slide, let's see, is the next slide my alliance question? So, well, I had another slide here that was, what does it mean to be an alliance? And this is really the thing that I want to wrap up on. So if you'll take us out of the presentation mode for a second, Lynn. So the next idea, though, is what does it mean to be an alliance? And that's what I want to just leave you all with today. I've been thinking a lot about this. What does it mean to be a good ally to you, to others, to those who are disenfranchised? What work can we accomplish better together? I don't know all of the right answers here, but I think as our advisory council, I want to put on your radar this question. I want you to be thinking and wondering, what does it mean to be a great alliance? What could we do better together because we are aiming in the same direction? We're having the hard conversations and wondering, are we creating the right opportunities that completely disrupt inequity or the status quos that will oftentimes limit access to student groups that we know would benefit our STEM community? And what are we going to do together to say aloud that these are things that matter to us and these are things that we want to resolve? So I'd like for you to keep thinking about that. In my mind, one simple solution is, if we can, let's do it wonderfully. Let's do it better than we did before. And then let's put it out there so that we change the way that people access this information and these opportunities. Because if we can at least stop right now the idea that only a few get access to the great experiences that we're producing together, I think we'll at least solve the beginning of this problem. And then we can do a lot of good work later down the road. So I'm excited, as I've said many, many times, I'm excited to be here. I'm just in my second month and I'm getting my feet wet. I'm learning about all of you. And so I want to invite you, just as a closing here, I want to invite you to reach out to me at any point. If you just want to have a brainstorm about what you are trying to accomplish and how we might be able to be a support, please do so. In fact, as I close up here, I will drop a link in the chat that will allow you to easily schedule a 1-hour meeting with me. It may not be in the very immediate future because a lot of things are moving, but it will allow you to schedule a 1-hour meeting. Then we can have a further conversation about this. So thank you all. Thanks for being here and giving your time. I'll stick around for just a moment and then I have to exit to get my boxes back. So thanks everybody. And Lynn, thanks for adjusting quickly for me there. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Levi. So my name's Emily again, and I'm just going to kind of be the MC for the rest of our program today. So one of our first presentations, I want to introduce you to an amazing group that we have had the pleasure of working with throughout this year. This is our Teen Advisory Council, and this is composed of high school students who are going off to do amazing things and getting ready to go to college, getting ready to be seniors in high school. But truly, these are the kids that I want to be when I grow up. They are the most accomplished, empathetic, wonderful teens that I think I have ever met in my life. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to our Teen Advisory Council, Reeya, Rohit, and Joseph, to be able to talk about what they have developed for TRSA over the last year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emily. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Okay, great. So I am Reeya, the chair of the Teen Advisory Council, and this past year we've kind of worked on developing more of a virtual platform due to COVID. So most of our stuff is online because we felt that more people would be able to access it. And just a little intro into what we created. We created a website called TAC Teach. And basically, it's just an online platform where students can find more information on different types of STEM classes, scholarships, and we're planning on adding more to it. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. If you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, I just kind of explained a little bit of what TAC is. So my name is Reeya Ramasamy. As I said before, I'm the chair. I'm a rising senior, so class of 2022, and I'm planning on majoring in cybersecurity in college and want to go in to work with national security agents. So if anybody has a hookup with the CIA, let them know I'm interested. So I like to play tennis. I play the viola, piano, quite the musician, I like to say. I dance, I do a type of dance called Bharatanatyam, which is a Indian classical dance, and a crap ton of community involvement and working with advisory boards across Tulsa. And here's a little fun fact, laundry day is my favorite day of the week. So Fridays are quite the party. So if you could go on to the next slide.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, so yeah, my name is Rohit Nikam, and I'm the vice chair of the Teen Advisory Council. I'm a senior now, and in the future, I want to major in biochemistry. And now I was doing more research, and I think I might want to go into biomedical engineering, but we'll see. And I want to become a cardiothoracic surgeon or a neurosurgeon, and I'm doing more research on that. Some hobbies include playing soccer, guitar, skating, singing Carnatic music, which is a type of classical Indian music. And I like doodling, like just drawing. Fun fact, I like to watch random videos of surgery. A lot of them are 18 and up, so I can't watch a lot of them, but I try to find what I can. Oh yeah, but that's about me.
If you want to stay here, that's fine. Hey everybody, my name is Just V. Sorry for the goofy picture. That was on purpose. But I'm the treasurer of TRSA. I'm graduating. I graduated just like a month ago. So now my plans are to go to MIT for college, and hoping to major in electrical engineering, maybe civil. I'm not really sure right now what I should do. Just trying to get my feet wet in college first. And then my hobbies, I love basketball. I love working out, watching sports, anything athletic. I like basically everything. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. So I love the Bucks right now. And a fun fact is my high school superlative was most likely to be fired on the first day of at a job. So you can tell my friends really, really love me. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so how did we get to creating TC Teach? So at the start of when you had to create something, COVID was very on the rise. So doing something in person wasn't really that big of an option, or else it would put a lot of people's health at risk. So we decided, after exploring summer camps and many other things, we decided on doing TAC Teach, which is, as Reeya said, a website. And it can be used by any student as long as they have access to internet or a computer. And it's a big hub for a bunch of other things, such as future jobs, curriculums, just any questions students could have. And we just wanted them to have easy access to resources and all in one place. So yeah.
Lynn, do you think you'd be able to pull up the website? Thank you so much. So this is the opening screen of our website. If you could hover over subject descriptions and then click on science. So if you go down, there's different descriptions of different science classes, and we will definitely send out the link so you can explore the website as well. But we have just tiny little descriptions of what different science classes would entail and who we recommend it for. Just because I know for me personally, I didn't have an older sibling to tell me like which classes should I take. So we wanted to kind of give students a little look into different classes. That way they kind of know what they're getting themselves into whenever they sign up for classes in high school. So that was just kind of the intent of this section of the website. If you hover over subject descriptions and video gallery. Thank you. So we have a tiny video gallery as well. If you scroll down a bit and click on the triple bars at the very bottom, there's like 3 bars, and it tells you like the different videos that we have. We have some videos about different math classes, different science classes, just from our own members, about our personal experience with these classes and just what we liked about it, to kind of encourage students like, hey, you can do this, we did it, and just giving them some encouragement before they go into different various areas of STEM in their education. So I will pass it over to Joseph.
Yeah, so the next slide is future of TAC. Oh, are we just talking about the website, like what we made?
Yep, we're still on the website.
All right. So if you go to diving into subjects. Oh. Did you X out of the?
Yeah, we're pausing for technical difficulties for a second. Would you guys mind just talking a moment about kind of some of the greatest challenges you guys face creating this project?
I think the first one for us was none of us really had experience with creating a website. And it was just kind of like a learning process for all three of us in figuring out how to create a website that's appealing to teens and still looks professional at the same time. So that was one thing. And most of our collaboration was over Zoom and just virtually, even though we all go to the same school. But we didn't really like talk about TAC outside of, well, TAC time. So trying to figure out how to like collaborate online was a big learning curve for all of us. Do you guys have anything?
I think there was also like just figuring out what we need to put in the website, because the website at first it was really broad. And so just narrowing down on, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this. That was a kind of a challenge, but once we got down, it's pretty good. Joseph, any challenges for you?
Yeah, I would say like just figuring out how to do it was incredibly difficult. Just because we didn't have anyone to really teach us how to make a website, but we got it done. That's all we can say. We did it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I can start off for the social media engagement for TikTok. So TikTok, we use TikTok mainly because it was our target audience. It was a bunch of teenagers and younger students, and that allowed us to reach them and allowed us to talk about scholarships, because that's what we mainly talk about on the TikTok. Because if you push out, look at our website, that gets kind of annoying. And scholarships are actually really useful. So we wanted to provide just brief intro on what scholarships are and a list of scholarships. And hopefully that would allow more students to realize, okay, this is TAC Teach. I'm going to look into it. And we have a link to our website there too. And if someone wants to talk about the Instagram.
Yeah, so the Instagram, we wanted to like have some resource that we could instantly, with one click of a button, just send to like 1 million people. And so we already knew that the TRSA, they already had an Instagram account, so we could use that account as already like a starter base, and then just push out our ideas of like what we think other parents should know about like careers in STEM and like different kinds of STEM majors and jobs available to their kids. And so we basically just shared info about like, the different kinds of positions and how STEM majors usually they get paid more, and just like the different benefits of becoming an engineer and being in the STEM industry. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you guys want to like show the different other different parts of our website?
Yeah.
Or
Lynn, if you're able to pull up the website again. Thank you.
You could go into diving into subjects, and then that's where we put in all our little subjects that we put in classes and stuff. So click on like physics or anything yeah, biology. And you scroll down, we got little paragraphs of what biology is, the different kinds of biology. We got videos on the left, TED Talks, everything. Sorry about the sirens. There's an ambulance. But yeah, and then we have that for physics, calculus, chemistry, biology, computer science, engineering. Yeah.
And if you could click scholarships. Yeah, so the idea of this was that it's kind of intertwined with the TikTok. The scholarships from the TikTok are linked back to the website, which helps with engagement. And it's still in the works, so the last few are in the process of being updated. But here's just some general scholarships. And if you can click one of them. Yeah, so here it has a brief description about the scholarship, the amount, and the due date for the essay of the scholarship.
I think we're good with the website if you want to go back to the slides.
Yeah, so the future of TAC. For our website, we have plans to implement more resources, guides, advice, videos, just all those games and stuff. We want to continue to implement them into the website. And a challenge for this is obviously we want people to use our website to get other kids to, use this as their main resource or as a supplement resource. And so we want to continue to push this out to teachers or parents in Oklahoma through just like the same way we pushed out the summer camps or the positions to be in TRSA at Teen Advisory Council. We want to just email the crap out of the teachers and parents, so to get their attention to use our website. And yeah.
Yeah, so in closing, we really just wanted to create a hub of resources for teens. It's really difficult to get teens to look things up on their own. So just providing all that information in one area, we're hoping to spur more engagement, more excitement, and trigger less fear when mentioning STEM classes or scholarships, and just helping out our fellow peers, because we've all been through that ride and still are, and we want to just kind of extend aid to those coming after us. So that's kind of our main focus, why we decided to create TAC Teach. So are there any questions?
I was starting to type in the chat, but hi, everyone. This is great work, and we really appreciate you sharing this with us. And I just wanted to let you all know that if you would like us to mail it through our OSDE listservs, we can send it to science, math, computer science, ed tech teachers who can send it on to their students. And we can also send it through our college and career readiness initiative. And so I'll put my email in the chat, and if you have like a little blurb or something you'd like me to include with the website link, we'd be happy to do that.
We would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. And you see, this is why I want to be them when I grow up, because they are truly amazing. So from that amazing presentation to our next one, who is also a superstar, and we've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Noam for the last 6 years. I've had the pleasure of working with him for the last 4 or 5 years here at TRSA. And he's going to talk a little bit about what's coming up with PEAR. We have a special event coming up this summer that I'm sure you guys will all want to hear about. But I would love to introduce Dr. Gil Noam from PEAR.
Thank you so much, Emily. Is it possible? Oops, I see that I'm not on video. Okay, Emily, is it possible to take down the presentation because I don't have a presentation and one of the reasons why I don't is that I wanted to see you, and I know that you have a lot of PowerPoints, so I wanted to interact with you directly in the short time that I have. I want to welcome Levi. I think we're all very lucky, and you in Tulsa especially, that he comes from Oklahoma, as a person who worked with the state in Oklahoma, and that he is going to fill very, very big shoes, Exan, who I'm still a lot in touch with. And I think he's bringing a lot to this. We had a meeting yesterday with him, and I was just really impressed with how fast he picks up things and how much of a vision he has himself. This is especially important because it is a totally amazing time. I mean, we all have been under house arrest for, over a year. And, the schools and the after school programs have, suffered tremendously, and the families have. But despite that, I think there's a lot of hope that something new will emerge out of what we have left. I mean, the school systems and the after school systems showed themselves to be very fragile and unprepared, but it is really impressive with how much people just jumped in and tried to kind of do the best in very, very hard times. During this time, PEAR, the Partnerships in Education and Resiliency, has actually made a lot of growth itself. We spend a lot of the time to get ready for this moment of schools opening and after school programs really being functional, fully functional again. One of the things we did, and I wanted to just let you know, is we continue our Harvard work in something that is now called ISRI, the Institute for the Study of Resiliency in Youth. And that's the research arm. And in order to really more flexibly be able to serve communities across the country and even internationally, we did spin off and created a new kind of organization that kept the name PEAR and is now able to kind of much faster to respond to the situation, because obviously doing this from an incubator at a university and a teaching hospital is quite difficult. So what I wanted to do today is just give you a little sense of where we are as an organization and how we would like to continue to work with you, because this has been a growing collaboration. Each year it's gone a little further. For those of you who are new on the advisory board or on the board, just so you know that our role has been to both create a data system that makes it possible for individual after-school programs and collectively across after-school programs to be able to get a sense of outcomes, so that the outcomes are built in, so you know how the students are doing. A lot of it is based on self-report, but it's also, and that's become very big. Student voice is something that everyone wants. So we have those assessments, and we have an observation system called DOS, Dimensions of Success, funded by NSF, which allows us to go into programs and to train your TRSA programs to observe each other or themselves to get a sense of where is the quality, what quality needs to be improved across 12 dimensions. And a lot of people within the Tulsa regional network have been trained to use this system. So that will continue. We have now developed a SEL system that works right next to it, and I will talk about this in 1 second. But our idea is not just to have outcomes and to write what has become really a classic with you and for you, namely the case study, the Tulsa case study. So everyone who works with ecosystems across the country and also internationally, there are now I think almost 100 of them that meet annually. The Tulsa case study is always used as the exemplar. Like, this is what it looks like. I hope everyone has seen it who is, on this call or on this Zoom. If you haven't, I think Emily, we should make sure that everyone does have it, because it really describes the history of TRSA. It describes kind of all the amazing work up until you became a 501c3, the incredible funding that you have gotten over the years and the increase of funding, but also with detailed descriptions of the quality and the outcomes based on also a lot of interviews with you. So one thing we should probably think about at some point, maybe in a year or two, is to update this case study. But it has become the model for many other ecosystems and cities to actually begin to tell their story with data. I mean, one of my goals here is to actually suggest that in the next phase of work that we do with you as a network is to also work more deeply with individual components of your network. So the school districts that are involved, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Ys. So a lot of the angle has been to study them, to help them to increase their quality, because it's not only about evaluation and case studies, but also about staff development in the areas that are on the weaker side. I think that, what's not happening sufficiently, I think, is like the direct work with programs to figure, and school districts to figure out how to actually apply some of the learnings to increase every boat, so to speak. Like you're the water that rises, but I think there's also a need in the process to maintain and to increase the quality of each of the boats. So I just want to put this out as an offer for anyone who's here representing organizations or companies, that you should really work with us to think through how we can help, because I think we will make an even stronger TRSA if each of the individual components is its strongest. I want to, just because of time, I can't go far into this, but I think that right this moment, my recommendation to all of you is to broaden the vision of STEM. And I think Levi is broadening the vision, into math, something that, you do and have programs for, but I think going deeper in that is probably very important. I would want, you and many others in this country to connect STEM and SEL. I think there is a real need right now to think about, and for you to maybe take leadership in the issue of catching up. There is a kind of notion right now, and it's beginning with, accountability tests kind of being implemented after a period of not being used during the pandemic, of we got to really make sure the kids are catching up. Well, the question is catching up to what exactly? I mean, it's an issue. And, it's not as if the kids did so well on these accountability tests before the pandemic. So just to kind of create new pressures on teachers and after-school providers is, I don't think is the right way. And I think we have one solution, we collectively, which is the philosophy of out-of-school time that TRSA is building on and is building out. I think that's a much better way of thinking about catching up, which is to really get young people engaged, interested, like get them get them focused so that they can actually do the STEM work that they need to do, rather than here are the kind of assessments we're going to use. Now you have to really show us, and everyone is kind of racing, but in a somewhat estranged way. So I think that's one piece. The second piece is SEL. I think there's a lot of hardship that students and families have gone through. Have gone through, and they are not. And they're not going to just put everything aside. It's just not going to happen. I think we need to focus on SEL. So the good news is actually that good STEM is also good SEL. And we just got to remember that. So when you actually do STEM with young people in many of the environments, the lab schools, the after-school programs, the companies that you embrace or represent, you're actually teaching them 21st century work skills. So not only are they learning STEM, and not only are they catching up in a different way, namely that they really get re-engaged, but they're also learning teamwork. They're finally together with young people again. They are communicating with each other. They learn how to communicate STEM ideas. They have a lot of different kind of STEM and SEL approaches together. And we just got an NSF grant to pull together a lot of communities around SEL and STEM. And I think right this moment, this double bottom line that is a possibility and a necessity is something I really strongly think that we together, PEAR, and your association, your organization, your network should really think about, because students need it, family needs it, your staff needs it. I just want to mention in closing that I wrote a book that kind of outlines some of this work, and I'll be happy to find ways to get it to you. We just have to figure out how to do it. I'll hold it up so you can see it. It's called, well, I don't think you can see it actually. I wonder why. Too close. Okay, it's called 10 Big Bets, Transforming Education During the Pandemic and Beyond. And so a lot of the things I just mentioned are outlined in greater detail. And I want to end on this note of saying the way we think this combination of STEM and SEL can happen is around training. So we have increased our training capacity considerably and focused it on opening schools and after-school programs. So between now and the fall, and even into the fall and the winter, we want to help schools and after-school programs to open up their systems in a way that deals with norms, with sense of belonging, and also mental health issues. The second is to really increase quality and outcomes in this next phase, but to really look at the outcomes in much broader and much more inclusive ways than have been done in the past. So I think we have the system to help with that. We have the measures, but we probably have to figure out together what other things need to be measured that aren't measured today, and measured in a way so that the quality of the system gets stronger, rather than kind of the individual child or family gets seen as failing, quote unquote. And the third is, the data system as a whole. I think we can do a lot more work to have a very fast, rapid kind of reporting back system that everyone, all the programs, and you as policymakers can use continuously to figure out, are we on track? Are we moving forward? We've built that out based on Qualtrics, which is one of the major platforms that exists, that is working with us and we with them. So I think we have a lot of possibilities. So what I'm proposing here is focusing on training and coaching around opening schools and after-school programs after a horrendous time, to focus on quality and outcomes and sharpen that in our collaboration with each other and to build out the data system that we have. I hope we can do some of that. We're here to support you, and we really love working with you. It's very, very special and has been a kind of dream collaboration. So we want to continue it as it has, but we want to tell you that we're ready to do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Noam. So the next presenters I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, but anyone with a title about breaking the sound barrier definitely has my ear. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Colin and Johnathan to talk about Project Boom.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Colin Watson, as I said earlier. I'm a Broken Arrow graduate. I saw there's some Broken Arrow people here, so go Tigers. And currently a incoming junior aerospace engineering student at the University of Oklahoma. And then you'll meet Johnathan Burgess, my cohort here. Later on in our presentation, he'll speak and introduce himself. He's our chief engineer and a student at the university, or Oklahoma State University. So yeah, if you can go to the next slide. So Project Boom. How our project started was over a year ago, right whenever we were all facing pretty much a year in quarantine. I don't think we knew it at the time, but we knew something was going to happen and it wasn't great. I just finished my first year of college, had really enjoyed it. I knew engineering was the path for me. I actually participated in Tulsa STEM Alliance activities during high school. So I wanted to figure out something that I could do with my time and collaborate with other students, obviously virtually, during the middle of the pandemic. So Project Boom is what came out of that. Johnathan, my cohort here, came on right at the beginning with me, as well as some other friends that we had. And then it's quickly expanded, which we'll talk about later. But in summary, we are a group of students from over 70 different universities, 20 different countries around the world, all working together to be the first student group to design, build, and fly a supersonic drone. We've been working for over a year. We're preparing for our test flights in August. And yeah, I'll tell you about some of the details of that. We can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Maybe having some technical difficulties. All right, well, waiting on that. Johnathan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Oh, there we are.
Yeah, I can. I'm Johnathan Burgess. Like Colin said, I'm a graduate research assistant at Oklahoma State. I came on pretty early on, following with Colin and the other co-founder for Project Boom, who I graduated with, Kolb from Oklahoma State. He asked me, and I came on pretty early. This is really encouraging to me. I'll kind of go into more of this in a little bit, but this whole meeting and everything is really pretty neat because I'm from Arkansas, and at least where I'm from, STEM and how old I am, it really didn't exist and it was really missed. And so part of what Project Boom has become is kind of an outlet for STEM students, for students who are, even if they're like, we've had artists, you know, accounting majors and blah, 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 all these different random people, mainly engineers, but within Project Boom, who've been onboarded, who just kind of had an interest in engineering and interest in what we were doing. And so it's really encouraging to see, you know, that there's an alliance of people out here trying to make that happen too and everything. And so if we still are having technical difficulties, it's fine. So yeah, I kind of just have really enjoyed trying to figure out, as they said before, you know, how do we make these kind of things happen on like a remote level, and Colin kind of put together a full workspace on an app that we use virtually. We use that to message and everything like that, but we also have used Zoom. Let's see. Okay, we still have.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, so yeah, you can go ahead. It looks like we're coming back up.
Awesome. So who we are, yeah, like I mentioned, we are in more than 70 universities. We have over 300 students onboarded onto the project. And it's all virtually through the power of the internet. We started, I remember just PEAR, we had assembled about like 15 local engineers from Oklahoma State, University of Oklahoma, to start the project. And then one night we're like, let's post this online on Reddit. So I remember I posted it, I went down to dinner, and before dinner was over, I had like 40 emails. And then by the time I woke up the next morning, I had over 100 emails of people interested in joining the project, which was super exciting. And it was super exciting to see that students all over the world were excited about STEM and about engineering, specifically aerospace engineering. So here's a little group picture of a tiny portion of our members at one of our meetings. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Right here, you can kind of see some of our demographics. We have high schoolers working with college students, and then that's college students that are freshmen all the way up through master's and PhD level. Like Johnathan is pursuing his master's right now. We also have students just way different ages. One of our team leads is actually, she just graduated high school out of Wisconsin, and will now be attending Columbia, but she was a student, joined the project, found us online, and poured her heart and soul into it, and really impressed all of us, and has earned herself a position on the leadership team, leading hundreds of students around the world. So we don't set any prerequisites of you have to have this level of education or anything like that. We want people to be able to come in, improve themselves through their hard work. So if we can go to the next slide. Our advisors, I'll be honest, this is a little bit out of date. We've added some in recently. So as you can see, we have advisors from multiple large companies, aerospace companies specifically, as well as NASA. And then Josh Farazad, you see on there, was a student that did a similar project called Operation Space, which was kind of our inspiration. Not mentioned on here is Steve Findley with Kratos Defense. Kratos is actually a large sponsor of Project Boom financially, and Mr. Findley and the entire engineering team over at Kratos has been super supportive of the team. I am actually sitting in a hotel room in Sacramento, California right now because I'm interning for Kratos. So they've been an amazing help to us as well. And all of these amazing engineers on the screen here have taken their time out of their day. Another inspiring thing, if they all have their own day jobs, but were inspired by what students were doing, and wanted to give their time to help us, and they've all helped us in their own unique ways. So next slide. Here, Johnathan will kind of talk about how we actually communicate and what we're doing.
Yeah, sorry, I was sending something in the chat trying to be funny. As you can tell, I'm pretty dry. So yeah, I kind of alluded to this a little bit before on how we have accomplished what we've been able to accomplish, and we've kind of led with who we are, and that's right and everything, but what have we done? And so that's coming too. So before we get to that, I'll kind of explain some of the processes that we've gone through. So as mentioned before, we utilize a workspace, and that's an app that's on computer and phone and everything like that. And so it's kind of like our own little social media platform that we use. And so we've onboarded over 300 members into that workspace. It's our personal workspace for Project Boom. And then within that, we have channels, private and public, within that workspace that we can utilize and channel different, activities through. And so we've really just capitalized on that. And then through the pandemic, luckily, that's kind of just been the way it is globally. And so people have just dumped, a lot of IT into that, and trying to get a lot of improvement into this technology. And so we've just capitalized on that, and it's improved and been a really fluid way for us to communicate. And then we also use Zoom and that type of thing. And so, as mentioned, I came on pretty early on, following Cole and Colin after their idea kind of blossomed. And I was originally the aerodynamics lead, while Cole, the counterpart for Colin, and the founder of Project Boom, sorry, he was the chief engineer at the time. And now since then, he's gone to Cambridge and he stepped down. And so I filled in that role. But as the aerodynamics lead, one of the things that I was like kind of challenged to do early on, as Colin mentioned, is we just all of a sudden had like 100 members onboarded overnight, literally, that Colin had to go through, and we put them into our workspace. And so then we kind of had to have something to do to keep their attention, you know, and they're usually pretty young anyway, so their attention spans are shorter by nature. And so what we did was we developed kind of this bid system where we put out a bid within our workspace and say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Is anyone interested? And so when people say they're interested, we kind of had to figure out how that's going to work or not work. But people would kind of raise their hand, or so to speak, and say, yeah, that sounds cool. Tag me in on that. And so we developed a process to kind of come up with concepts, a prototyping kind of brainstorming process that really put what we have to do in the aerospace industry, you know, it's design an airplane, which naturally just tends to take really, really long time in the industry. And how do we do that so much more quickly? And so it was really a success, I would say, especially when we had all of that momentum and excitement just right out of the gate. And so what that allowed us to do was it really kind of honed our skills as a team and as team management to figure out what works and what doesn't. And we were lucky enough to do something that worked pretty well right out of the gate. And who doesn't want to, you know, be involved with a supersonic drone? So we automatically have this really kind of easy to sell project anyway, which is great. And so a lot of people are interested in everything. And so that's kind of been, you know, how we've managed to do this. And we have a great team that have developed underneath us and within the group. And so we've got a great set of team leads that kind of take on each subsystem. And then from there, we, like I mentioned too, we do a lot of Zoom meetings. We have weekly meetings, and each subsystem has their own meeting that they're responsible for. Then we have team lead meetings, and then the umbrella just goes from there. And so it's been really intense that like all this is student led, started by students and led by students, maintained by students. And if we didn't do it, there's nobody that's pulling us along to tell us, oh, you have to do this, this, and this today. It's all us. And so it's really been interesting to see how much we've had to develop individually and as a team to kind of get this pre-industry kind of mindset, and before we're there, we're already having to kind of prepare for it. And so it's been really a great tool for all of our members to kind of get this Project Boom stamp on them, because they've had to go through all this. And we've apparently it's been something that we've had to do, like I said before, globally. So it's been really interesting that we, thanks to Colin and Kolb, that we were able to just kind of segue into this really cool project in a really cool time where a lot of engineering students were looking for something to do, and we were just able to capitalize on that. Okay, next, sorry.
Yeah, and that's Project Boom has it's been a multitude. It started just out as a passionate project, something I was really interested in. It turns out there's a lot of people really interested in it, but as Johnathan and I and the whole team found out is it hopefully will serve as an example for other teams in the future, that there's no reason that you now have to work with the people that are in the 5-mile radius bubble where you live. We have people in 15 different time zones around the world, which makes our life kind of hard. But it's also pretty cool to see people up at 4 a.m. over in India while we're just to make the meeting. So there's students really passionate about it, and we've had to overcome a lot of those hurdles. And our goal after Project Boom is over in the next year or so is to inspire other students to do similar projects. So the slide kind of on your screen right now is our risk management. I think the slideshow was initially made for sponsors, so we were trying to not scare them. But we do have to operate like a company. We're building a drone that I think I messed up and didn't put any really good pictures of it on here, which is my fault, but it's 6 feet long pretty much, and with a 3-foot wingspan, weighs 40 to 50 pounds. And this first phase, which we'll talk about in a second, is going to fly almost 600 miles an hour. So a lot can go wrong there. You're traveling a mile every 5 or 6 seconds. And it's powered by a jet engine. So we have to work with the FAA. We've secured a range down in Nevada. It's actually the old nuclear testing grounds. It's really cool, where we'll be going down there to fly our plane in August. We have to do ITAR compliance, which if you're not familiar with that, ITAR is the United States rules on what you can tell foreign countries and what you can't, and it's huge in the aerospace industry. And since we're working with students from all over the world, we have to limit what the scope of our actual project a little bit. But that's shown to be not a huge issue. So if we want to go to the next slide. So I think I cut a slide out or we missed it. Can you go up 2 slides back? There we go. That's what I was looking at. We also, a small part of our project as well, like we said, we want to inspire other students, is we've done the best we can to market the project. We have a series, about 9 podcasts out with our advisors and industry leaders that you can find on our website. Our website is theprojectboom.org. I'll drop a link in a second. So we have industry leaders, we have that students can see and really get an insight into what it's like to lead in a large company, or what it's like to work at a large company, as well as we have an Instagram, a LinkedIn, and then a YouTube as well, where we kind of post updates about what we're doing. So we can skip down to that. Thanks, Jonathan. The engineering process slide. Yeah, there we go. Jonathan's going to talk about this.
Yeah, so one thing I'm going to add on this, it's not on this, is, and you'll see a picture of it, I think, at the end. I was kind of giving Colin a hard time, is that we have a phase 0 is kind of what it's become. It's strictly a test prototype phase, so it doesn't really accomplish anything other than what we need to know in-house. And so I'll go ahead and explain what that is, but it is a direct one-to-one model of what phase is. It's along the way we realized that if we were to actually accomplish the whole goal, which is to break the sound barrier, then along the way there is potential for us to break a Guinness World Record. And so that kind of set a lower mark on the totem pole, so to speak, for us to try to reach before we go all of the way. And so it was kind of a natural standard for us to potentially break it up into this phase to where we break the world record in phase 1, and then we go the full distance in phase 2. So what does that mean? Well, in phase 1, the difference that would be from going from subsonic to supersonic. That would be from phase 1 to phase 2. So supersonic is our ultimate goal, which is to break the sound barrier, to go faster than Mach 1.0. And that's what phase 2 wraps up. And so what we wanted to do was, well, how can we get as close to that without actually breaking the sound barrier? Because there's a lot of physics that change and that get more complicated when you get at the sound barrier, or right up until the sound barrier at the transonic phase. And so we decided, well, we can break the world record and accomplish that and not break the sound barrier. So that again is phase 1. And so what that means is it's the entirety of it is supposed to be the same from phase 1 to phase 2. It's just the scale changes. And so from phase 1 to phase 2, the amount of thrust or the size of engine that we were going to need is going to change. And so from phase 1, it's going to be about this large, and in phase 2, it's going to be over double the amount of power, almost triple, actually, over triple. And so it's going to be quite the increase in size and diameter. But the phase 1 to phase 2, the structure and the look and everything, the aerodynamics of the airplane should relatively be the same. So stepping back from that, we're going back to what our phase 0 would be, and that would be a direct representation of what phase 1 is, except for instead of a jet engine burning fuel, it's going to have an electric motor inside of it with using batteries. And so it's only going to go about 100 miles per hour, whereas phase 1, we're going to go about 600 miles per hour. And in phase 2, hopefully go around 1,000 miles per hour, at least 900, the bare minimum. And so and that's going to change, potentially based on what we're able to achieve. But the ultimate goal is in phase 1, we're still just doing a test for what we're going to try to accomplish in phase 2. But while we're at it, hopefully we can break a world record. And then in phase 2, that's where we hope to finally go through the sound barrier for better or worse, and to make it a supersonic vehicle, which would be again the first time a student-led group has ever done that. And so that's why we have the record breaking there. And if we're able to do it again in phase 2 successfully and according to what the Guinness World wants us to do, then we could potentially set another record again in phase 2, breaking our first record in phase 1. But that's a whole lot of ifs and hopes and things like that. But that's still the point of kind of how we broke it up: phase 0, phase 1, and phase 2. And I just wanted to explain that because you're going to be able to see some renditions and some pictures soon of what those look like. And phase 0 is all 3D printed, so it's plastic. We made it here in Stillwater, and it's blue, so you'll see that. And then the phase 1 and phase 2 will be made still probably in Stillwater, but they'll be carbon composite layup. So we'll do that by hand instead of having a printer actually printing it. So completely different methodology for structures and internal layout, but still very neat that all of our members are getting to work on something that's so applicable, because 3D printing and additive manufacturing is just on the rise and everything. And so we've definitely utilized that. And then carbon fiber layups, we're going to dive right into that next. So it's been really interesting for me to get to be able to just kind of get to do all these different things. All right, next, please.
Yeah, so here's kind of that montage of pictures. And yeah, I messed up, but anyway, we have some really pretty renders. If you go to our website of our plane, you'll get a better grasp. But that blue plane is what Johnathan was talking about. That's our fully 3D printed aircraft. And that in itself is a whole feat. Are very impressed by our team. That was actually led by a student over in the UK. But that's about 5.5 feet long with a 3-foot wingspan, so a 1-to-1 scale. And then here's a couple of different renditions down at the bottom. We had a team putting together an augmented reality view of our aircraft so that we could share it again with marketing next to a little kitty cat. And then also our CFD, which is our computational fluid dynamics. We've been supported by a whole bunch of people throughout the industry, which has been amazing. We received a huge sponsorship from Siemens, which is a software company. And then another company called Nimbix down in Texas is a supercomputing company. They provided us access to their supercomputer, over $14,000 in computing power, as well as multiple other ones that I can't even begin to name. So that's another topic that didn't really mention, but I will now, is this isn't cheap. Each aircraft we build is $12,000 to $13,000. We want to go out to Nevada with 2 or 3 of them. Each day we're out on the range is $2,000, just that we have to pay the range, $2,000 plus, as well as we'd like to be able to house as many members that want to come down or fly out, and that kind of thing. Our first phase is estimated to cost around $70,000, and our second phase over $100,000. We're well on our way to raising that money. We're all privately funded. We're not through any single university, even though I'm a student at OU, Johnathan's a student at OSU. We have avoided specifically just asking for university money and being like a university team, because we want that global collaboration. We don't want just within one university, and sometimes that can limit that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please check out the link, the www.theprojectboom.org. You have to put the. If you don't put the, it takes you to some other website that I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for inviting us here. Yeah.
Yeah, only thing, I kind of said this earlier, but I just want to encourage you all is that I'm 33 years old, so I'm an old man compared to most of the members in Project Boom. But it's because I just graduated a year ago with my undergrad, so just got a kind of a late going on for medical reasons and other stuff. But I just wanted to say that I kind of hinted this earlier. I'm from Arkansas, a small town. And basically, I didn't even know what engineering really was. I knew I was really good at math, one of the best in my class. But what the heck do I do with that? And then in science, there was just like physics was kind of a joke. I'll say that, not in defense of, not in any retaliation or whatever, attacking an individual, but just the amount of depth that we went into it was just it was barely scratching the surface, and so if you all are part of anything that awakens up, these young engineers and tells them what they can do and encourages them, then that's encouraging to me. And then I just wanted to pass that along, because I kind of flew under the radar and had to discover what engineering was at a later time in my life than what most students that are just going straight into college would. And so, hey, I'm finally here. But anyway, it would be really great it's really great to see that. And again, I just wanted to say that. But do we have any questions real quick? I know we've probably taken more time than we need.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I was completely nerding out through that whole presentation. So I have some other friends I'd like to introduce you guys to, John and Jennifer. I know I saw John at one of our STEM ecosystems convenings a couple of years ago when we actually met in person talking about Tallo. And this is a really cool platform. I think a lot of people on this call are going to be very interested in the product that you guys have developed. So I will send it over to John and Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Do you want to just click to the next slide and we can kind of kick off more from there? And run. Okay, just again, we're going to go at supersonic speed here, Johnathan. So it may fit right into your presentation here. But first of all, it was about 132 years ago. There was another rush in Oklahoma. What we're seeing across the country, and if it hasn't hit there, it's going to. But from a talent perspective, that major corporations are really starting to look at getting career, more so than ever, getting talent students on the right career from middle school, high school, up through to meet their needs, and then also reskill and upskill talent that they may already have. And the STEM fields are clearly one of the really hot areas there going forward. Originally, Tallo was called STEM Premier when it was founded 8 years ago. And we were focusing 100% on STEM talent. And that's when we kind of first got involved with the STEM learning ecosystem. But because the world has changed and jobs has changed over the last, even prior to COVID, we found students getting confused. Were they in STEM? If they were in, a strategy kind of thing, or a IT, those kind of areas that was growing, they weren't considering themselves mentally in STEM. So, it was add STEAM, streams. There's like a million of those. We decided, let's just make it simple. We'll call it Tallo, Talent Locator, and move forward. And so we did that about 2.5 years ago. And again, we're still very strongly STEM, the STEM that we all know and is all encompassing, is very focused that way. So if you can hit the next, if you can hit the next slide there. In a nutshell, Tallo, we work with talent and we work with talent seekers. Talent is anybody from age 13 to adults, into adults. Our strongest suit is high school probably, but as they mature through, they stay on Tallo, and there's a world of opportunities there for them that come up. But from a priority perspective, we want to help talent as young as middle school discover and inspire them to move forward, engage and develop, in college, educate and train them. Make sure that they're following their career pathways right up through adult. And how we help them do that, we'll provide them guidance kind of through our college and career exploration guidance programs, with assessment programs that not only can help them on their 21st century skills, but also on what is meaningful and purposeful for them personally. So we kind of work down through that way, or up through. They build their brand. They get, we'll direct them to credentialing, whatever that they may need. It's not us that generally does the credentialing. We help them with financial aid. We have partnered with a company called Red Kite out of Texas And guys, there's $20 billion of financial aid sitting there prior to COVID. I don't know what all is there now, but these are all in scholarships or grants. And then with that connection platform, when it comes time for them to look for internships, apprenticeships, jobs, it's kind of that whole system. The next slide is a slide that just shows you where we are in the country. That's a heat map you see on the right, where, you know, all across the United States and I think 30 some countries. However, majority of our talent is within the US. We have 1.5 million users that represent over 29,000 high schools and 4,000 colleges. We have a high percent diversity in there, is about 650,000 of those users fall in the diversity category. And just roughing it's kind of 40% high school or middle school, and then the rest are beyond that. Many in college. Some went right into the workforce or the military. But that's kind of the scope of it. The next slide is a slide that really just gives a random sample of some of our partners. Like for Project Lead the Way, HOSA, FBLA, First Robotics, Vector Robotics. We are the platform that they use for their members to showcase themselves, build their brand. And like HOSA in the healthcare field, that I know Rohit was interested in, that is we're that platform, and all their scholarships come out through us to their member bases. At the same time, we direct talent to any programs that, as long as they're reputable and all that, in place in our region that we're working in, or they have interest. So we would direct talent that are in our aeronautical engineering space, which we have a bazillion there, because Lockheed Martin, Boeing are two of our huge clients. We could direct them to your projects, or like TAC Teach, in the Tulsa region, that, hey, here's something else you should probably check out. We're not going in to replace things. We're going in to accelerate and enhance different things. But of those, you'll see colleges, corporations, partners, government agencies. But basically our partners, we represent the largest healthcare company, 5 of the top defense contractors. Lockheed Martin's #1, we're there. Largest aerospace company, that's Boeing. One of the top 5 auto manufacturers, #1 retailer in the country. And that retailer is looking for STEM talent, not retail talent that's store selling things. That is Walmart, which you'll be surprised, guys, what kind of talent they're looking for to compete against Google and Amazon. And then the 2 of the top 5 grocery chains. Next one. This is just some activity in just the last 60 days. We have been quoted, used, or on live in CNBC a week ago, Forbes 3 times in the last 60 days. We was on Good Morning America, and actually we gave out a $50,000 scholarship to an individual in Philadelphia there. Yahoo News, Sherm, Fortune, and that. Those are all in the last 60 days. And these are all ones we've been asked to be on, or they wanted to use our data. So with that gives you a high level view of Tallo. Now we're going to talk a little bit what's going on in Oklahoma. And for that, I'll flip this to Jennifer, our VP of Business Development, and very instrumental in the Oklahoma initiative there.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. If you can jump to that next slide, we'll talk about Oklahoma specifically. And we'll talk about this too. A lot of this work has been done in conjunction with Scott Fry, who's on the call, in the Mid-America Industrial Park. But John gave you a snapshot of what our talent and user base looks like nationally and across the country. But we wanted to make sure we shared some of this with you too. So just in Oklahoma alone, we have over 17,000 students who have voluntarily built a profile. One thing to note is Tallo is completely free for our users, and you just have to be 13 years old. So once you're 13, totally free, go build out your portfolio. Tell us your dreams, your goals, what you want to do. And then it's our job to be an equalizer, make sure everyone has access to those same opportunities. So this is self-reported student information, 17,000 people there in Oklahoma. Within just a network of Tulsa, just within that 75-mile radius, there's almost 7,000 users specifically. There's over 12,000 users nationally that have said they want to move to Oklahoma. So if you're on the call and you're representing economic development or workforce development, business and industry, you're looking for talent to hire. Not only can you tap into that talent right in your backyard, you can also draw in from other states. And then John also shared some diversity stats with you. Again, going back to our mission of being an equalizer. So regardless of geographic location or socioeconomic status, wanting to make sure that everybody has access to the same opportunities. And so they are just in y'all's region. Again, there's over 1,000 Native Americans on Tallo. So just wanted to give you some different snapshots. If you go to the next slide, once you understand the talent in your region, one thing that we really want to do is help you make educated decisions based on those data points. So we can look at, based on cohorts or populations, what industries do these kids want to work in? Where are they wanting? What kind of jobs are they looking at considering? What colleges are they considering going to? What majors? Are they looking for scholarships? Do they feel like they don't have access to the right information? And then taking those data points, we can help strategize on programs that should be in place, new STEM programs, making sure that just, again, talent has access to the right information, and then you know where talent wants to go. So if as a state or as an economic development group, workforce group, you know what jobs are going to be available 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, those kids sitting in the classroom are our future workforce, right? So if we can see that their interest and their alignment is not lining up with jobs that are going to be in demand, then we can work to help shift marketing strategy and outreach to make sure our future talent is on track to fill jobs that are going to need to be filled. If we jump over to the next slide, I think Scott's still on the call. Maybe he had to drop for a different call, but how we are starting to do this in Oklahoma, and like I said, where a lot of our work is coming from now, is with the Mid-America Industrial Park. Also this week, Claremore Economic Development has come into that network. So our goal in that region is to make sure that we are working with schools, with educators, with the business and industry, with the colleges and the universities right there in the region, with the Cherokee Nation, bringing everybody together into one ecosystem. We are really mimicking that model off of some work we've already done in Iowa with the Greater Des Moines Partnership. They have a massive scaled program in the state of Iowa where we just basically are building connections. We're building relationships. We're making sure educators have a place to see their students, what they're doing, walk them through graduation programs, giving them digital badging, making sure there are ways for them to get seen and get connected, and then making sure the employers have a way to tap into that talent. So, you know, Levi, I think, said it when he kicked off this meeting. It's about access, and it's about information, and it's about everybody having access to that information. And so that's really what we're here to do. You all, I mean, we're hearing from you today, right? You have incredible programs that are already kind of what we would call the boots on the ground. You guys are making things happen, but we're here to be your support and be your technology in the background that is connecting these different partnerships. So while we're on the call today, is we would love to get more of you involved. We'd love to have more partners in the state of Oklahoma to really grow this and scale it. So on our next slide, you'll see what can happen when everybody comes together in one space and you really do focus on scalability. So this is an example of some of our work with South Carolina. They launched the South Carolina Future Makers Initiative. We had the Department of Commerce, Department of Economic and Workforce Development, the Technical College system, the South Carolina Manufacturing Alliance, the Department of Education, the Council on Competitiveness, everybody said, okay, this is an initiative we can get behind. This is something we can support. So we have over 100,000 users on Tallo in South Carolina. We work with over 150 business and industry partners, every single community and technical college, and the majority of the four-year universities. So again, just, you know, this is our goal, right? This is what we want to see happen and flourish in Oklahoma. And we are just on the cusp of starting that. And again, thanks to Scott and his work for bringing us and really spearheading this and kicking things off in the right direction. So how do we do it? You know, we're giving these big visions, showing what can happen. On the next slide, we've just included a couple of examples of some of the tangible things we do. Sorry, it looks like this slide got a little wonky here, but just some examples of how we actually make these things happen. So in the top, you'll see an example of our Boeing STEM signing day. So we actually host the Boeing signing days across the country. This year we had one in Oklahoma. Boeing hosted their signing days in 14 different sites, and Tallo was the technology that powered it. So we recognized high school seniors who were going to pursue college in STEM fields. They all got recognized, kind of like a signing day for athletes, but it was students who were going to pursue a future in STEM. So we'd have local and statewide legislative affiliates. We had C-suite executives from Tallo and from Boeing and other local partners. And it's basically this time to bring awareness to STEM. It helps Boeing get their name out in the community, but it really is about that recognizing of students and helping them find the next step. Those students who participated in the signing day actually are going to get to be a part of a mentorship program that Boeing's going to host on Tallo. So they are this year going to work with 500 students nationally and provide that one-on-one support and guidance and mentorship throughout their first year of college. So really incredible opportunity. And then the other example is how we work with Cummins. So while you can imagine, you know, Boeing is going after the high-flying top tier STEM four-year students, Cummins is still looking for STEM talent too, but in a little bit of a different approach, right? Because they're looking for talent who's taking a two-year route and can be a part of a very well-paid apprenticeship program. So we worked with Cummins to help them fill that role. A lot of times students don't know about opportunities where they can go to school and it's paid for and they have a paid job waiting on the other side. So in 24 hours with Cummins, we did this outreach across 18 different states. And we had 36 applicants, and my personal favorite is 4 of them were women and they hired 2 females. So love that we saw some diversity there in a more of a non-traditional STEM field. So just wanted to give you guys some examples of how that works. I think we have one more slide with one last example. This is kind of another kind of spin on the competition. We recently hosted a competition with Epic Games, NASF, Innovate, Educate, and Tallo. We gave students free access to use the Unreal Engine technology to create videos to bring awareness to Earth Day and how we all want to take care and clean our environment. So there was actually a $2,500 scholarship given away. So these are the kind of things that once we start building a network, building an ecosystem, that we can promote to our audience and make sure that educators, business and industry, government, nonprofit, everybody knows about collectively what's working, and we are connecting with the future talent. So I know we talked really fast, so if anybody has any questions at all, I will put my email address in the chat. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to work with you and find a way to bring you into the work that is taking place in Oklahoma now. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. And just as a reminder, we will be sending out the PowerPoint to everyone so you can have everybody's contact information. So I'm not going to introduce myself because that's just awkward. So we'll just jump into the next slide. We just want to take a quick moment because I know we're a little bit behind schedule right now and address 2 upcoming funding opportunities. And these are quite large scale funding opportunities. So I'm going to give them a very brief introduction when you guys receive the PowerPoint slides. Both of these are a hyperlink, so you can go directly to the RFP for these grants. And then I'm going to have my email on the third slide here. So if you would like to collaborate and discuss more about these grants, that's really kind of the purpose of this little section right here of our presentation. So the first one is through the National Science Federation. This is a very large scale grant addressing the racial equity in STEM education. They're really kind of looking at a renewed concern and interest in addressing systemic racism. So what they're looking for is pretty much any kind of collaborative idea, or it can be an individual idea. Nonprofits, districts, pretty much anybody can apply for these funds. There is no cap on these funds, but what they're really looking for is how to disrupt systemic racism in your community. So I know the STEM ecosystems, we've had a couple of calls with the National STEM ecosystems on talking about, how different ecosystems could come together. We've also had some conversations within our own Tulsa ecosystem. We definitely want to invite everybody on this call and beyond this call to be a part of that conversation. The grants are a rolling dates. So July 13 is one of the due dates, October 12th, March 22nd, and then it will continue thereafter. And again, there's no cap on this grant thus far. So it is really doors wide open. How can we as a community come together to disrupt systemic racism within our Tulsa ecosystem? So we'll go on to the next slide real quick. And the other one, this is a really brand new, and there isn't a formal RFP. This link will actually take you to the press release from the State Department of Education. But we have through the grapevine, kind of because years to the ground, our new executive director is from the State Department of Education, that there's a potential for $22 to $36 million in grants that will be opening starting August 1st. This is part of the pandemic recovery for the state of Oklahoma. So this is definitely something to keep an eye out. And as soon as we hear anything about, we will definitely send out to our council. But we'll go ahead and jump to the next slide here. So if you're interested in collaborating, I would love to host just an informal meeting to kind of get some ideas on the board of what we could look at if you're interested in doing these. We don't have a set due date yet for any of these grants. It is still very open. So I will go ahead and just kind of end with that so we can get back to our regularly scheduled programming here. And I believe we have Andrea up next, who has a really cool project called the Voyage Expedition.
Thank you, Emily. And gosh, it's been so exciting to see what everybody's been talking about this morning. So my name is Andrea Sagely, and I am the former STEM instructional specialist and robotics director for Broken Arrow Schools. But now I'm serving Muskogee Public Schools as a principal. So I've been doing that for a few years. But while with Broken Arrow in this area, I was very active with the Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance. And so I see a lot of friendly faces that I recognize. And so it's nice to see you all again. So today, however, I'm coming to you as a representative of the Broken Arrow community and the surrounding communities. Because as a STEM advocate and enthusiast, and for those of you that know me, my passion is putting science into the hands of students and teachers. And I have to wonder, which teachers did that for Colin and Johnathan and for the Project Boom, because as an educator looking back on, was there a moment when I had inspiration? And that is very exciting for all of us. And that's, I think, a lot of the reason why a lot of us get into this and we're interested in the STEM Alliance is because we want science in the hands of kids. We want that STEM spark, like you all were talking about earlier. So I'm representing this grassroots group that we're calling ourselves the Voyage team, or the Voyage Project team. And we are a group of retired and current teachers, administrators, and just community members who are STEM enthusiasts with the common goal of, in this case, literally putting the solar system on the map in our community and making space science more accessible to the students and families of the greater Tulsa area. and to spark an interest in a re-spark an interest in space science. So several of our members of our group have worked together on various projects over the last 20 years as advocates for STEM education. We've put together STEM nights, we've brought in scientists, we've brought in workshops for teachers, we've hosted STEM camps, and through all these years, from whatever project we were working on, we've just built this friendship and this passion for STEM over time. And we've forged a lot of relationships with scientists across the world, and it's just been really, really fun group to be a part of. And because of a long-standing relationship we have with Dr. Jeff Goldstein, who is the director of the National Center for Earth and Space Education out of Maryland, we've come across this opportunity, and this is what I'm bringing to you today. And it's an opportunity for the solar system to be within our reach. So if you want to go to the first slide. So, so the project is called the Voyage. And I'm telling you about this project today because it's exciting and we want to let you know about it, but also, we're not representative of any one school. And so we don't have school funding or anything. So we are reaching out to business partners and local partnerships for help with, and the Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance for help with not only financial part of it, but also for the education piece that we are looking at. So if you want to go to the first slide or the next slide. So the Voyage exhibition is an accurate and a permanent interactive solar system. It's a 1 to 10 billion scale model of the solar system along a half-mile walking path that's going to be open to the public, and it's going to be located on 61st Street in Broken Arrow, between Lynn Lane and County Line. So it essentially stretches in the front part, and I'll show you a map in a moment, from Creekwood Elementary all the way to Broken Arrow High School, but it's along the public sidewalk path so that our communities and schools can come. They can bring field trips to see it and that kind of thing. So this national exhibit, there's a national exhibit of this, and I'll show you a picture in a second. And the very first one is in Washington, D.C. along the National Mall there. And there's 4 other cities right now that have this, but they've opened it up to, they're going to be doing this project in 100 cities across America. And we are going to be one of those. And so we're excited to talk about that. So let's go to the next slide. So basically, if you can imagine, you walk into it's museum quality, it's outdoor, it's STEM outside, it's an outside exhibit of the solar system, and it's in a half-mile straight path. And in space, obviously the planets don't line up in a straight path, but just to kind of, for students and community people to grasp the idea of where is Earth in relationship to everything else and the size of it. This exhibit allows visitors to explore from the sun all the way to the Pluto, and get an idea of how far away is one thing from the other in space, and how is the size different. So in comparison. And so imagine walking through all of that just to kind of see actually how big is big. And when you imagine the sun and then half a mile later you're at Pluto, that's pretty big. And it's hard for students to, and for me and for anybody, to really grasp the vastness of space. And so when they walk through something like this and they experience this exhibit, then there's a re-interest in the science and experiencing that. So you can see at the bottom left is kind of a picture of students standing at, that one's a picture of the sun. And that's the first model of the exhibition. We're getting the next generation model of it. So I'll show you a picture of those in a second. And then the picture on the right is Dr. Jeff, and he's showing the exhibit of the sun. So students can gather around it, and it's got information, and I'll show you that. So let's go to the next slide. And everything got smaller on the slides that I sent, but that's okay. So our goal is not only to have students experience this STEM in an outdoor space, but our objective is to for more community engagement with STEM education for students in grades K through college, teachers in kindergarten through high school, families, and then the general public. We want everybody involved and being able to come and enjoy this experience. And so we're promoting our experiences and programming that is strategic, systemic, and sustainable, because it's outdoors, it's something that's permanent and it can last a long time. So we want to address our needs in education for STEM, not just in Broken Arrow, but in all the Tulsa area, because it will be accessible to everyone, and then providing content for that for the teachers and the students. So not only is it going to be an exhibit you can walk through, but Broken Arrow Schools is going to take ownership of, or liability really, of the project after, because it will be on the edge of their campus. And then through the new Vanguard Academy and at the high school, some of the education classes, some of the science classes, they're going to help provide live content where you can have a QR code, scan over it, and see information about the different planets and things that it can change over time. And then through partnerships with other schools, you know, have lots of different, there's a really unlimited potential of what we can do to have people interact with the exhibit. So let's go to the next slide. And I kind of talked about this a little bit, but once Broken Arrow takes over, they're going to take over the liability, but our STEM programming includes the QR codes I talked about a little bit. And one of the QR codes is a narrator reading the screen, because we want to make sure that, you know, everybody has access to hearing what it has to say, even if they can't read it. And so this is information that's easily updated by STEM staff, STEM students, or any of the groups, the teacher groups that we'll be working with. There's the stanchions themselves come with community access to space science that are already out there, that have been built by the Challenger Center in Virginia, in Alexandria and Virginia, and all these different places. So it's already coming with programming that we can use, and workshops that we can, and PD that we can put on with partners. And so and of course, field trips coming with it. So let's go to the next. And this is an example. So the oval itself is an example of what they look at, what the people look at when they're at a stanchion. And so, you know, the sun you can see is the size of a grapefruit, and you can feel that. And then as you go down to the size of the planets, there's a place where you can feel the actual size. So like Pluto is the size of a pinhead, and you can feel that. And then, you know, so compared to the grapefruit that you've felt in the beginning, students can feel the size of the different planets. And then there's all this information about each planet as you go through each one. So this is just an example of that. Let's go to the next one. Next slide. The picture on the left is a picture of what the stanchions look like on the walkway. So there's what, you know, kind of example what I just showed you, where they can feel it, and information about how far away it is. And those are all just example pictures of it. And the Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars are within the first 75 feet of the sun. And then after that is when it starts really spreading out. So you can see how far away the other planets actually are. Let's go to the next slide. This is just kind of an overview of where we're going to put it. So you can kind of see how far apart everything is. That's an overview of that area. But one of the reasons we want to put it here, and it's kind of a home, you know, it's got a lot of meaning to us. But the reason why we want it here in Broken Arrow, because of our relationship with Dr. Jeff and his scientists over you know, all these years. But it's also, so this location, there's plenty of parking for buses that come in from other places, for families to park. And then it's just not even a mile from Nienhuis Community Center Park, where there's picnic tables and you know, lots of playgrounds and things for kids. So if field trip groups came in, they would be able to go over there and eat their lunch and then go back after they experience the Voyage project. Okay, let's see, go to the next slide. So this is kind of where we are. So the cost of it is about $50,000. And I'm putting this up here so you can kind of see, you know, where our little group is. But the base of the exhibit is $37,000. It costs, you know, about, as you can imagine, a lot to ship it. We've got about $6,000 worth of installation fees donated already by Broken Arrow community, and the Chamber of Commerce is on board with us. The Broken Arrow School District is on board, you know, helping us install it. And then, of course, then we put in $9,000 for the, you know, all those unexpected fees that you have, and you know, getting our workshop started, getting it off the ground. So a total of $50,000, and right now we've secured $18,000, still needing $32,000. So if you go to the next slide. Oh, I think we go back one. There we go. So the way we're kind of doing it is we're having sponsorships, and people can adopt a planet or they can sponsor a planet. And so we're reaching out to different companies and different places to kind of sponsor a planet or help in some way. So these are all the different ways that we have to do that. And once we have a sponsor for each one, then they'll be recognized on each stanchion. So it's kind of a PR thing, and also on our website, and then in our promotional material at our workshops and stuff. But the reason I wanted to bring it to you today is because, one, it's super fun and exciting, and it fits, and I really think that the community is going to enjoy it. And you know, we as a group, as you all do, want to just keep, you know, science and space science in the hands of kids. We want to spark that, you know, because maybe by students being able to go to one of these and creating master teachers in space science who can continue that love for that, can spark something where they're going to be doing something like the Boom project we were talking about. I mean, I just think that there's such a connection between kids in school and that spark that they get. So as you can see, we have an exciting project going on. And so if your company or you are interested in helping us, we would love to hear from you. Or if you have any suggestions or connections that you could help us make, we are interested in that as well. So if you have any questions, the last slide has my contact information on it. I'll put a link to the website too, the national website, so you can see in the chat.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's a really cool project. We definitely hope to see it at Broken Arrow in the upcoming future. All right, so we are coming to the close of our program. Just want to say a huge thank you to all of our presenters and everyone who has joined us today. Thank you all for wonderful presentations of all the great things that are happening all across the state, in fact. And to everyone else for joining us here this morning. I hope you received a lot of really great contacts and information about great things happening in our community. And my other last little plug is please be sure to join us in September. I believe September 2nd is our next advisory council meeting. It's the official TRSA birthday. So we are hoping and planning, fingers crossed, to be able to have this in person somewhere. So that way we can have cake, because why not? It's our birthday. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Again, we'll be sending out the recording and also the PowerPoint slides to have everybody's contact information. And if you're interested in any of those grants, please be sure just to go ahead and email me, and I'm going to get a convening set up for us to talk about how to bring some money to Oklahoma to make some really great things happen. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Good job.